welcome to day 4 of 12 Days of Gracefulness. I hope that you have been following along with me on this journey, this gracefulness journey. We have done so much. We've had a whole lot of wisdom, a whole lot of knowledge, a whole lot of perspective, just a whole lot of good stuff. So if you have not been following along, please go back and find the other videos and make sure that you catch up so that you get all the good tidbits that we are ending our year with. Now, if you're not familiar with 12 Days of Gracefulness, it is something that I started last year to help us end the year on a positive note, end the year in a good mental headspace. Okay, so for those who don't know me, I am Grace, and I'm a motivational speaker, certified life coach, and I am also an author. So I have a few things going on, but my desire is always to make sure that we are healthy, healed, whole, and free. Okay, so these 12 days are geared towards that, towards making sure that as we end this year, we end it in a good space so that we can begin in a good space. Okay, so we've had different conversations, so again, go back and talk. I will have some of my friends joining me for several of the days. Most of the days you'll see me with a few of my friends who are joining me, full of wisdom, full of knowledge, full of just so much that I'm even gleaning from them. So make sure that you join me for the other days. So day 4, we are focusing on believing again after failure. So that I'm going to talk to you for just a short while about that, about believing again after failure. And as I did on day 1, hopefully you go back and watch day 1 if you have not, I'm going to begin with an affirmation. And I'm also going to end with the same affirmation. I believe that affirmations help you to kind of get things into your spirit. It helps you talk it into you so that you gather it, you garnish it, and it becomes a part of you, as opposed to you just hearing somebody say things. So we're going to say this affirmation, and then I'm going to go into believing again after failure. We're going to say the affirmation again, and then that'll be it. Okay, so day 4, I'm gonna the affirmation, I always write it down. I tell people I have serious pregnancy brain right now. Whether it's a real thing or not, it's real to me. So it's easier sometimes to write it down to make sure that I give you guys exactly what it is we need to have. So your affirmation starting out today, and I'll say it twice in the beginning and then we'll say it at the end. I haven't always got it right, but I am not a failure. Every time I have failed was just another opportunity to get it right. Failure is not my companion. Low thoughts are not my friend. I will use my failing moments as success catapults. I believe I can do all that's in me, and I won't stop. I won't quit until I succeed. Very simple. We're going to say it one more time and then we'll jump right in. I haven't always got it right, but I am not a failure. Every time I have failed was just another opportunity to get it right. Failure is not my companion. Low thoughts are not my friend. I will use my failing moments as success catapults. I believe I can do all that's in me. I won't stop. I won't quit until I succeed. That's your affirmation. So make sure you get that in, write that down if you have not already, and let's jump right in. So, when we talk about this notion of failure, it has so many dimensions to it, and I'm not going to go into all the dimensions, but from a society perspective, we are taught that we fail when we mess up in something, basically. You fail if you don't do enough of something. You fail if you don't get certain grades, and if you make a mistake on a test, you fail in those areas. Or if in life, as you get older, you fail at a marriage, you fail at a relationship, and that means that basically it did not work for you. So That is our society perspective. And for many of us, we get so caught up on that notion of failure that it almost paralyzes us as we attempt to move forward. I look at my own life, and I always use my own life as an example because I believe that you come from what you know, and then you can talk about the other stuff. But I have many instances in my life where I felt like I failed, where I felt as if I had just messed up so bad, and that it was just nothing that I could do to really fix what I had done. Even thinking about my marriage, I remember mistakes I made earlier on in my marriage, and even along the way, where I just felt like I was the worst wife. I failed. I just could not be the wife that he needed. I just could not be the wife that I was supposed to be. I had messed up so bad, and so I failed. In my own mind, in my marriage. Thinking about in business, I've had several moments of believing, even in my Grace Waters business and my fitness business and other things that I do, that I have failed, that it is not what it needs to be, that no one is listening, that no one is following, that I don't have the clientele that I should have. When it comes to my children, like some of y'all can relate, I feel like, ooh, many times I have failed when I've lost my temper, or when I haven't necessarily responded to them when they needed me to respond, and then it just seemed too late, and then their feelings are hurt and they're crying. So there's many instances where I have felt that I have failed. And even thinking about personally, I've felt along the way that I failed as just a woman, you know um, and being the feminine ideal of what a woman should be. I don't have this and I don't have that. My body doesn't look like it should according to the magazine, so I failed in that. So it's so many different levels of feeling as if you have failed. And a lot of that comes from societal expectations and societal pressure and societal things. But regardless of whether it's society that's making you feel that way or not, in the end, the point is that you still feel as if you failed. And so, how do you come back from that place? How do you come back to a point of believing in you again, believing in what it is you think you failed in again? How do you get back to a place of believing? And that's the question, because it's hard. It's hard to come back when you think that you just messed up so bad. For instance, if in your marriage, let's say one of you had like a cheating experience or something, like how do you come back from that? Or let's say you failed out of a class in school and you needed that class to graduate. How do you come back from that? Like, how do you get it in your mind that I'm not going to allow that place to be my end? How do you do that? And it's easier said than done when I think about it. I have to think about my process. When I failed, like I mentioned those certain areas earlier, but when I failed in certain areas in my life, it wasn't easy necessary to come back and just say, oh, I failed, but it's all right. We're just going to keep it moving. No, ma'am, no, sir. That's not how it worked. It was a process, it was an individual process. And I also reached out, in some cases, to those I trusted to be able to talk through the process. So start with individual. So when you feel as if you failed so badly that there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you say, there's nothing that can happen to fix kind of where you've been, you first have to start introspectively. Okay, do I feel as if I failed me? Did I fail somebody else? Is this failure because somebody else said I failed? Or is it really that I failed? You have to start asking some further questions. I know that, let's take being a wife, for example. I feel that I have failed in some things, because society told me that I was supposed to be this, that, and the third as a wife. Um, but I really, in my head, have failed. But when I talk to my husband, and when I talk to other trusted people about that, they're like, who said you were a failure? But I had created all this stuff in my head that I had just messed up so bad and I was the worst wife. And, and if some cases I could have been better and I can be better. But that doesn't mean that I'm a failure. That just means I'm a work in process, a work in progress. So you have to kind of consider from an individual level, okay, what is it that's really going on? Like, is this me? Is it society? Is it somebody else? Like, what's going on? But then once you get past that individual stuff, it's okay. So this failure that I'm feeling, and sometimes it's real. Like if you're in business, and you're doing certain things, and you have a system that you put in place for things to work, and you're trying to gather clientele, you're trying to build your business, you're trying to do certain things, and you've been doing this for however long, and at some point it just feels like you're not gathering clients. It feels that you're not getting the attention that you need or want. You feel as if it's just not working. And so in your mind, your business is a failure. Like you're not getting the clients, you're not getting the business, people are not coming to your door, or in this day and age, they're not getting with you on social media. And so you feel that you failed, point blank. And so how do you consider that? Like, do you say, okay, I failed to the point where it's just no point of no return? Or have I failed to the point where maybe there's like a thread where I can grab onto and maybe try to build this up? Like, what do I do with that? Hmm? Like, where do I go? And I could go on with the examples of how we feel as humans, that we have failed, that we have messed up, that we've done things we should not have done, that we've said things we shouldn't have said, we've been things we shouldn't have been. I could go on and on and on. But the point of this particular moment, this particular session on 12 Days of Gracefulness, was to make you think about it. Yes, in reality, we have messed up. We have failed. There are some things that we just jacked up. It's what it is. It's point blank. It's transparent as we could be. But the point is for us not to stay there. Like the point is for us to start gathering ourselves so that we're beyond that point of failure. So, okay, I messed up. Maybe I did this in my marriage. Maybe I did this with my business. Maybe I did this in my friendships or my relationships. Maybe I failed this test. I messed up in this class. All the different reasons and things that as humans we could fail at. Maybe I didn't say the right thing, do the right thing. Maybe I just, maybe. What do? Do you stay there? Do you say, hey, I think I'm just going to go and I'm going to stop doing everything because I failed? Or do you determine how to move past that failure? How to start believing that you can be more, that you can do more, that there is more after that point of messing up? Like, which direction do you want to go? I know that for many of us, we are considering this kind of thing as we come to the end of a year. We had a lot of things maybe we wanted to accomplish. We had a lot of things we worked and we put out there, and we hoped that people would follow and support. And maybe it hasn't looked like we thought it should. But at this point, do we give it up? Like, do we throw in the towel? Do we say, hey, we're done with this? Or do you decide differently? Do you decide that, okay, maybe I'll go back and I'll revamp and I'll reconsider and I'll change a few things and I'll adjust this and adjust that, and I'll try to see how I can make this work going forward? Because what I don't want us to do is to get to the end of this year and to be so caught up on the things that we feel we failed in, and we feel that we messed up in, and we feel that should have been, could have been, ain't, whatever the case. I don't want us to get so caught up in that we mess up our entrance, our opportunity to go forward into a new year with a fresh start. And when I say fresh start, I always like to make sure that you know that don't mean starting over. That doesn't mean that everything that happened before, it ain't going to be there no more. It means that I'm going to start from this point and I'm going to make it my business to make this fresh. So whether that's my marriage, I'm making this fresh. Whether it's my business, I'm going to start that right here, from here, fresh, renewed. Whether it's a friendship, we're going to start from right here. because you can't really start all the way over. You have history, you have stuff that's come from however long ago. So you just have to be realistic and say, we're going to start from right here. But I am encouraging you to get past these thoughts of I failed and I messed up, I suck. Get past those thoughts and begin to imagine that there is a life after that failure moment. Begin to imagine that there is more after that failure. Begin to imagine like what it could be like if I decided that instead of being stuck in this notion of me failing and messing up, that I decide, okay, I messed up. It sucked. But how about this? Let me shift my perspective. Let me shift my thinking on this. Let me reconsider how I can move forward and how I can actually make a change in this. It's really, I say it's that simple, but I know some of y'all are like, it is not that easy. Depending on the situation, I know it's not that easy. But it does start with our mindset. It starts with us navigating our mind in a different way and almost rewiring our mind to believe that things could be different. Okay? The only way that you're going to be able to believe that you can succeed after you have failed is if you choose to acknowledge that there is a chance, that there is still hope, that there is still an opportunity, there's still something else there. So, my encouragement, because I go on. My encouragement as we end this year is for you to reconsider your moment of failure. Reconsider what it was. Reconsider whether it was you saying you failed, somebody else you said you failed, society said you failed. Think about all those things. And regardless of which pot you fall in as far as failure, start reevaluating and readjusting how you think about that failure and consider it as a learning point. Consider it as okay, let me just pivot from that place. Let me just shift my mind. Let me shift my perspective. Let me change how I think about this so that we can move forward. Because you don't want to be stuck. You don't want to be stuck thinking I failed and stuck thinking you messed up and stuck thinking that nothing's ever going to change and nothing's ever going to be what it needs to be. Let's shift. Because I know that if you shift your mind, you shift your heart, you allow yourself to heal from those feelings of frustration and upset, just being upset because, oh, I messed up and I failed so bad. Once you allow yourself to really start shifting, then you can start becoming really all that you need to be so that you can believe and hope and expect and know that every single thing that is in your heart and you're desiring to do can come to pass. So that's it. I want you to get past you and everything else, and I want you to believe that this failure is not the end, that is not where you're going to stop, it's not just the breaking point. Let it be, a catapult, that pivot, as I said, into the next. And let this failure almost be an opportunity for a testimony later on. Let it be something that's like, oh man, I messed up so bad. And I remember when I did this and this happened and this happened. But let's get to the but. That's where I want us to get. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and end us again with the affirmation. But I know and I trust that you can get to this point of believing again after you have failed. It's not over. It's not the end. This is just a fresh start. This is just a pivot. It is just a place where we can be better and do better and actually succeed in what it is we started out in doing. Okay? So, affirmation. I haven't always got it right, but I am not a failure. Every time I have failed was just another opportunity to get it right. Failure is not my companion. Low thoughts are not my friend. I will use my failing moments as success catapults. I believe I can do all that's in me. I won't stop. I won't quit until I succeed. All right, that's it, y'all. Day 4, 12 days of gracefulness. Please continue to join me on this journey. I believe that we're all going to be better, including me. And I created it, but I believe that even in this, I will be changed and catapulted into what's next for me in a new year. And I hope and pray that it does the same for you. So please follow along. If you have not seen days 1, 2, and 3, please go and find them. And continue to follow, continue to comment, like, share, and bring someone else along on this journey so that they too can be better as we prepare for a new year. All right. So, day 4 complete, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.